Yep. Hello there. Okay. We've not started. Not until I say these words. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good everything. Wherever you are on the surface of the earth at this particular instant, watching and listening to me. How are you? Yes, you know how we say it on the show. This is that space where we come in, safe space to lean on one another's experience to forge a positive path. Welcome to the Word Cafe live show. Oh yes. What are we going to be doing today? Before we get there, I need to ask you that question. How are you? I will, not just rhetorically now, really ask you. A lot has been happening here across the globe. So much political row here and there, the US elections, and what have you. A lot has been happening. But you know what? We're still here. It's been amazing these few days. You know, each time I process the thought of coming in and speaking, sharing with you. What are we going to be doing today? Yeah, I did process this one. I hope you enjoy it. I will be looking at how learning affects production. Yes, learning affects production. So we're going to begin it with this. You know, the society, when you look at the society, like just take some few steps backwards and look at the society, the world, and everything happening. How do we produce? How do we make the economy work? How do we make, day-to-day living meaningful? Learning is key, very key. So you look at certain civilizations, you know, from history, you see how one person discovered something, how what he or she has discovered has this economic value and impact on the society. And before you know it, a curriculum is built around it, and people are called into classrooms, which we call education, by the way, and learning starts. So we begin to, for the want of better expression, have a binomial expansion approach to it. You know, just like you're building something and it's growing, it's growing, and all of that, or you're building it from bottom up. But I ask myself this question: how do I tie my learning to my production to bring about economic value? And I have some things to read, to you, then we'll pick the discussion from there. So in processing this, what came to my mind was the discovery of the atom. Yes, the atom. Who discovered the atom? And what has the discovery of the atom got to do with our day-to-day living? You understand? Like, how does it affect? Nigerians will say the cost of garri in the market. Yes, the atom. So John Dalton, I'll read some things and we zero in. John Dalton, I beg your pardon, is credited with proposing the atomic theory. Yep, which he laid the foundation for our modern understanding of atomic structure. In 1803, he introduced the idea that matter is composed of indivisible atoms, with each element, made up of identical atoms that differ from the atoms of other elements. However, Dalton's model did not describe the internal structure of the atom. So the detailed atomic structure, including the discovery of subatomic particles like electrons, protons, and neutrons, was developed later by other scientists. J.J. Thomson discovered the electron in 1897. Ernest Rutherford identified the nucleus and the protons around 1911. And James Chadwick discovered the neutron in 1932. These discoveries built on Dalton's early atomic theory, but involved much more complex experimentation and understanding. So it seems like, what has all of this got to do? Don't worry, like I told you, we'll get there, So, but before they got here, two names, when we're doing this in school, for your information, I did biochemistry. Yep, you're wondering, what am I doing in this space of words and all that? That's a story for another day. So, Geiger, Marsden, when we're doing this back in school, they carried out an experiment, the gold, that's based on Rutherford gold foil experiment in further elucidation of the atomic structure. And when they carried out this experiment, there were certain things they did, I'll read it. So in this experiment, they fired alpha particles, that's helium nuclei, at a thin sheet of gold foil to study the structure of the atom. Most of the alpha particles passed through the foil, but some were deflected at large angles. So these, unexpected results, led Rutherford to propose a model of the atom with a small, dense, positively charged nucleus at its center, surrounded by a cloud of electrons. So now, the discovery of this, the experiment they carried out, they did not really understand it until they took it to, because Rutherford was their teacher, that's Geiger Marsden, and he explained what happened and all of that. So, but what has atom, the discovery, the study and all of that? So let me put it in perspective. When the atoms were discovered, or the atom was discovered, what happened? It changed the scientific field. One thing led to the other. The nuclear bomb was built. Before you know it, World War came, and they used it. It changed the dynamics. Economics were affected. Lives were affected. So one individual's learning, or a group of people, their learning affected the production, or would I say the economic cycle of the globe. I bring it to why this discussion I'm having it, how learning influences. So in processing it, I ran into, I guess I need to put this away, and I ran into, just give me a minute. All right, thank you. I ran into a write-up on LinkedIn by somebody talking about certain agricultural produce or product within the African continent that we have not harnessed. And before that, I saw this image of university projects. A lot of us went to university. And you know what carrying out your project looks like? What's your project? What's your project? What's your project? And I saw this image of a particular school. Let me not mention their name. And they brought out, for the lack of space or whatever, projects, students, their project work, and they dumped it somewhere to burn them. And I was asking myself, these are people's academic, should I say, work. It took time, processing and all that. It's like a data mine. There's so much in there. How much have we taken from this environment and translate into our production to influence and enhance? You come to say that even a good number of us who went to school, like your university degree and all of that, you end up not even practicing what you studied. So in processing all of this, my mind immediately took me to my own project work. As a result of that LinkedIn post I read about an agricultural produce or product is called locally Acha. Now, when I looked at what was done, I laughed. I just remembered immediately, this was my project work. So I went searching for it. Yes, that's it. I went searching for it. So I remember when 2000, I think it was 2003 or 2000, yeah, but I finished this work in 2004. Anyway, it was time in our final year and we were picking project topics and all that. And I remember very, very well, one of my lecturers back in school, Dr. Mrs. Akanewo, I think she's now a prof. She came up with this topic. She said she traveled to the north to see her sister, and she ran into this amazing, she called it an amazing grain, that the sister was talking about it and all that. She is a nutritional, her specialty is in nutrition and biochemistry. So she was like, what's the name of this? The sister called it hungry rice or something. So she said, no, we need to do some scientific work on this. So she took some of it and brought it to class, and we're just talking about it, and that for all her students, this is what you're going to work on. She did not even know the name, the botanical name. It was just the street name, as they call it, hungry rice. So people were running away from it anyway. But I said, no, I won't. I'm going to take up the challenge. I think a couple of us, or 3 or 4 of us. So she broke it like into different aspects that you would pick one and work on it. So I picked the effect of cooking and germination, on the mineral composition of Acha. That's the street name, Acha. So first of all, I had to go and look for the botanical name, and it was amazing when I got it and I gave it to her. Digitera exilis. She was surprised. Yes, I was like, really? I said, yes, Digitera exilis. So it falls under what I call it, not Oriza. Now, Oriza, I think Oriza is rice. Oriza sativa. You have cannabis sativa. That's what you call like what we know as rice, Oriza. But this falls under what you call it now, sorghum, maize, wheat, that family. And I remember when I worked on this, I remember what it took me to go through it. Like, try to understand, first of all, its economic value in terms of the potential. They used it for, people ate it, and they still do, in feeding. It's predominantly within the West African sub-region in Africa. And farmers use it for to feed their animals, cattle and what have you. Then humans also fed on them. They still, like I said, it's still there. I think it's called fonio. It's one name, fonio is called that. But the botanical name is Digitera exilis. I think we have 2 species of it. We have rotundata and we have exilis. So I took my time. Yes, then I studied in Uniport, University of Port Harcourt. So I had to make okay, where do I do the analysis? Where do I go? And my search brought me to Abuja as at 2003. The only lab, then internet was not this, should I say, vast. The internet was pretty. Then we used to go to cyber cafes and all of that. You spend the night. So I ran into someone who was also working on this in Abuja in a lab, and we got talking, like exchanging emails and all of that. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. So I had to do my analysis in Port Harcourt, and a detailed work, like starting from the abstract, investigation was made on the effect, the effect of cooking and germination on the mineral composition of Acha, Digitera exilis. So the mineral I said for were iron, magnesium, phosphate, calcium, using the trimetric method for calcium, blah, 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 blah. They are all here. I went on to do my introduction, introducing, the subject matter, talking about Archer, Digitera Exilis, and then I did literature review and all of that. So someone will ask, what has that got to do with us on the show today? I am looking at the potential of what we do in school. How do we translate it into our production environment? Because now we come to see that, like as if there's this disconnect. I'm speaking for myself now in Nigeria where I find myself. There is this disconnect both in the scientific, both in the art, just name it. We go through school, carry out certain projects, but how do we tie these learnings into our production in terms of economy? Where do we have a system? Because if you look at that, even in the West, when they sponsor certain research, and all of that, the sole purpose of this is to have the learnings from this research influence or reflect in the economic outlook of the society. More or less, like I will use the word, to influence the narrative, to influence the thinking, be it in food, the pharmaceutical, movie industry, entertainment, banking, and trade, what have you. They carry out the studies. But for us, it's like we just carry out these studies and we dump them. We dump them somewhere. We just dump them somewhere. Now ask yourself this question. Do you know where your project work is? As in, do you really know? Do you know where those learnings are, those things you did? But I think if we calm ourselves down as a people and look into our learning and see how we can translate it into our production, we would make a serious change. We'll bring about this amazing change. We will see how meaning and purpose will be derived from there. A wise man said, when purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So we now find ourselves abusing the process. Yes, we now find ourselves abusing the process. So imagine what the economic potential will be for Digitera Exilis. It sounds like one. I love it. That's the name. The economic potential in the brewing industry, in the agricultural sector, because you use it to feed your animals and what have you. What else? Where else? Hospitality, tourism. Yes, Digitera Exilis, it has the capacity to do that. A hungry man, they say, is an angry man. But imagine when you feed the man his tummy and his mind, what he will become. Guys, that's what I came to do on the show today. Just to share this with us. Our learning, getting into our production. Our learning, getting into our production. Because the truth is, when you learn and you truly learn and you translate your learning into your everyday living, there's this progress that is apparent. I think this is what divides the West, or as we call it, the global North from the global South. How do we get our learnings into our production, daily living? I won't stop emphasizing this. So guys, let's go back. Yes, you're in that space. You're a teacher. It's like looking at our educational sector, reimaging, creating it again, looking at functionality. Not just a question of glossing through and running through. No, functionality. There's something I learned growing up early in my practice and everything I do. I call it functional approach. I don't do everything. I only do things that are functional for me. Yeah. How will this affect my life? Will it bring the best out of me if I spend 10 minutes, if I spend 10 hours? If not, why should I waste my time on it? So we need to look at it. The functionality of our processes from our school, the chambers of learning, the way I want to describe it, the halls of the furnace of our learning, and where we are forged, our minds and all that. Because a good number of us just go through the process and we just dump what we learned. Our learners just throw it away like, oh boy, I had to go find money. Sorry guys, that's pidgin English. Yes, I'm going to look for money. And we dump all our learnings and we go after money. But are we better off at the end of the day? Are we? So guys, this is what I came to do on the show today. To call our minds back to the functionality of our learning. If indeed we went through school and we put our hearts into it, not just to have the paper qualification, as it were, but to have that learning, our minds opened to the possibilities that lie ahead, then for goodness sake, pick up your learning and make it work. Yes, pick up your learning and make it work. How? The way you went about it. That's it. Is it possible? I think it's possible. If the atomic theory would change the world, I think our learning also can change our world. We should begin from there. And that is what I came to share with you today. So exciting. You know, it took me quite a while to go and dig up this work. Where is yours? This is mine. You know, the effect of cooking and germination on the mineral composition of Acha, I still have it. It's just for the want of time, I don't want to go through it page by page, but a detailed work. And I think this work, after we finished this work, it added to my supervisor's elevation to the professorial cadre in her own academic pursuit also. Yep. All right, guys, you know how we do it on the show. Like we always say, this is that space where we come in to lean on one another's experience and to forge a positive path. Well, I gotta go. Until I come your way again. My name is Amachree. Amachree Isoboye. Bye for now. Well, before I say bye for now, my producers have told me we need to remind you we are available on all the social media platforms. X, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're everywhere. Go ahead. Follow us. Join in on the conversation. Let's build, within this space. Go ahead, subscribe to our page, and do drop a comment. Till I come your way again. Bye for now.